Hello and welcome to Rock Talk, Round Rock ISD's live roundtable discussion where we talk about topics that are of interest to our parents. Joining me today are one amazing counselor and one amazing administrative professional from our district with counseling experience. I have Charlotte Justice, the counselor at Laurel Mountain Elementary School, and Nanette Deacon, the associate principal at Cedar Ridge, who also brings in that counseling lens because of her most recent experience before taking on the job as associate principal at Cedar Ridge was as a counselor. Thank you for joining us at Rock Talk.
Thank you.
So today's topic is a very important topic for many of our parents and for many of our staff and people across the nation, and it's bullying. What we want to do is talk about what parents can do in dealing with these issues with our school. So I'm going to start with you, Charlotte. At the elementary school, how are we being proactive with students and with parents and making sure their concerns are addressed when it comes to bullying?
Well, there's several catch programs that we have that can help support students. We have school-wide expectations in all of our common areas, like the cafeteria, the hallway, the classroom, as well as every classroom. Every student has school-wide guidance programs, so the counselor will go in and teach and support what the teacher is teaching about citizenship, being a good person, pro-social skills, and such.
So a lot of the discussion, too, and a lot of the teaching moments come in terms of character with students, and that's kind of our front line, correct?
Yes.
Can you kind of explain what character education looks like in an elementary school in Round Rock ISD?
Elementary school has, like I mentioned, classroom guidance lessons. So the counselor will go in and facilitate a lesson on maybe pro-social skills or college and career readiness, goal setting, how to identify bullying, what to do about it, how to be an upstander is what we call. And so there's actually national standards that we use to help us identify what character traits we would like to teach in our students.
And then that from a secondary perspective, being at a high school, I know that the biggest concern that a parent have, or the first step in their mind, given how large high schools are, is what do I do as a parent if I believe that my student is involved in a situation where there's bullying. Give some tips or some advice for what a parent can do to be proactive in working with the school.
The first thing I think would be to acknowledge your student's concern, complaint, and then communicate with the school. High schools are set up with an assistant principal and a counselor working together and meet regularly to review the students in their alpha list. And so communication either through email or a phone call to either your student's counselor or your student's administrator will begin the ball rolling for us to investigate what's going on.
So you mentioned how assistant principals and counselors work together, and they work together with a defined kind of group of students based on their last name, alphabetical order, correct?
That's correct.
So can you talk about the different roles and responsibilities and how that collaboration works on a campus when we look at our assistant principals and counselors?
Certainly. So the report would come in and the team would meet together and divide up. The administrator would look at more of it from a discipline point of view, as in which students are involved, who has what responsibility for the incident. The counselor would come in back behind that to offer support for all of the students that are involved in the incident.
What are some tools? Can you go back and kind of review some of the tools of communication that parents and students can use? You mentioned email, phone call. I think there are some other systems in place. Can you kind of go through that and break down just those communication reporting systems?
Sure. The district has an anonymous alert system that can be used, that many of our students use exactly when the incident is happening. So we can get information right away that there's something going on within the school in a certain area by students just logging on and sending that through the district website. Of course, email and phone call directly straight to the administrator counselor is beneficial as well.
So Charlotte, in elementary school, just with students being so young, I know that some of the concern from parents or some of the information that might need to go to parents is just what are some of the warning signs for a child that there is a problem at school? What would you describe as sort of those things that parents should look out for?
A lot of times what we'll see is that a child maybe has a change in their behavior. Maybe they have a change in hygiene habits or sleep patterns. Maybe they're complaining of more physical symptoms, like headaches or stomach aches. Or they might complain of not wanting to go to school, resistance to wanting to come into the building, or more conflict with peers. Those might be some signs that something is going on, that they might need support.
And what would the steps be for an elementary school if a parent does have concerns and working with their counselor, because the dynamic is a little bit different?
Yes, it is. It's similar to what happens, I believe, at secondary, where we would usually find out either from students, staff, or parents that there is a concern with a peer, whether it be bullying or just mean behavior, inappropriate behavior. And so I work in tandem with the administration, the assistant principal, and the principal to try to find out what's going on, get to the bottom of what's happening. Whether it's a problem-solving issue, do the students need support or peer mediation, or is it possibly a bullying situation where we would want the administrators to investigate? And then I do support on the back end with counseling support for all parties.
And at an elementary school, especially when the students are kind of in a single classroom all day, talk about how counselors work with teachers and making sure that everyone's being proactive and vigilant and looking for students who are possibly in concern.
Yeah, well, teachers are also aware of the warning signs, and the main important thing for a teacher to do is develop a strong relationship, a trust-based relationship with each child, and so that they really get to know that child and their personality and what their needs are. And so based off of the teacher's relationship, a lot of times teachers will refer students for me, say, so-and-so's having a hard time with a certain situation. Can you talk to them about that? We do also on our campus, I think other campuses probably have similar things, but there's a way for students to let us know that there's a concern, whether it's something that they want to tell us just to let us know about, or it's something they want support about. So there's several ways that students can seek support, doing that in front of other students.
And Nanette, you mentioned that you had worked at a middle school before, correct, as a counselor?
Yes.
The dynamics are so much different even between a middle school in terms of how these partnerships work. All of our middle schools use the teaming concept with teachers working in teams and having core content areas and working with students in that way. Can you just kind of describe what that dynamic would look like in working with a teacher in general with middle schools within the teaming concept?
Yes, definitely. The teaming concept is so beneficial because the core groups of teachers see the same students all day long, same combination of students. So they can work together to strategically schedule students if that's needing to be done. They can work together to continually meet with parents. Kind of a one-stop shop. The team leader can call the parents, give them the information of what's going on, or schedule a parent conference to come in and you have all the teachers right there together at one time and can share your concerns and hear the information that the teachers have to give. So it's like having lots of mamas and daddies looking at your babies during the school day with the team concept.
And what I'm hearing, and the reason I mentioned teaming, and I'm glad that you're here to provide that insight because we don't have a middle school representative here, but the reason why that one is a little familiar to me is because my wife's a middle school teacher. She's a team leader too, so I understand, and what I'm hearing from both of you is that it's important to note that in our schools, incidents where it's involving student safety or bullying, it's really a team effort. Talk about the importance, and whoever wants to pick up this question, of just schools working together, partnering with parents, partnering with students to be proactive when it comes to bullying, and kind of common practices for that, other than what we've already discussed.
A big focus, I think, at any level of school is building a strong trust-based relationship with the student. So all staff members that work with the student all students intentionally try to create these relationships, personal relationships, where students feel safe to talk to them. We also ask that parents communicate with the school if they have any concerns that their child is bringing to them. A lot of times students will fly under the radar and not share concerns at school with the teacher or with other adults, but they may go home and say something to the effect of, I'm not friends with so-and-so anymore, or I'm having a really hard time in math class, or, something to that effect. That might cue us in that there's something going on at home or something going on at school that we can help support.
So obviously at the core, trust based with the student, that's the number one relationship that we have as educators in Round Rock ISD. But when it comes to the parents, what is that key initial step in bridging the partnership with parents and staff?
It's helpful when parents communicate via email or phone or parent conference, even coming in face-to-face and talking to us about any concerns that their child might bring to them.
And Nanette, when it comes to secondary schools, I mean, our schools are massive. Cedar Ridge is right around 2,700 students. What are some steps that parents can work with staff in partnership, making sure the best solutions are made for their child?
So we offer a lot of opportunities for parents to join us for information nights. We do grade level information nights. We also do an open house. Our counseling staff completes one-on-ones for every student in the high school. So there's many opportunities to start building the relationship. The important thing for parents to know is that the teachers, the counselors, the administrators on the campus, we have a system and a process to address needs and concerns, and for them to put trust in us, to communicate with us what's going on with their student, to know that we're going to address it, we're going to take it seriously. I think that may be one reason why some things remain unreported, maybe even more so at a high school level, is that the perception might be that we are too big, there's too many for us to take the time to address it, and that's not even close to the truth. We do take them very seriously, and we've worked well to develop our processes to support our students.
So I think that's a good point, that we have big schools, but we have systems in place to make sure we're meeting the needs of those students. And you mentioned one in particular from a counselor's perspective at a high school, the one-to-one meetings. Can you talk about for a middle school parent out there, or even an elementary school parent who isn't familiar with what high school looks like? Talk about what that component looks like and that kind of program that parents can look forward to.
So the one-on-one begins as a freshman, and they meet with the counselor, and they keep the same counselor. Our goal is to keep the same counselor through all 4 years of a student's high school career. At that point in time, we review everything that's going on in the high school career of the student. Notes are well taken, paperwork is completed, so that the next year we can make sure that the student is on track for graduation, is on track for endorsements. It's a really unique way for us to take the time out to devote to parents and students, and each conference lasts about 30 to 45 minutes.
Going back on the topic of bullying, unfortunately, bullying is a reality in schools. There's no way around it. What we do best is support the needs of our students when incidents happen, and be proactive in teaching character and making sure that our parents are informed as to working with us. What advice would you give to a parent, though, if they have a child who's been in this sort of situation, on how to keep going, and after the initial report is made and the partnership with the school is made on, what are the next steps the parent can make in making sure their child continues to prosper in school? And maybe let's start with Charlotte.
Well, there's several things that parents can do to support their kids. Whether their child has been a target of malicious behavior or bullying, or whether their child has been on the other side and has taken part in doing some of that hurtful behavior with others. So really, we want to work together to support students and children in learning problem-solving strategies. We also want to develop their strengths and interests and help build their confidence, so that we are supporting the whole child to be able to be successful in, the world after high school really is the goal, to try to help them know themselves and have lots of tools in their toolbox to be able to solve problems in a way that doesn't hurt themselves or other people.
And is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes. Having worked both at middle and high, I find that parents become they're wanting a resolution immediately. And at times that can be difficult. There needs to be investigations done, and if there's several parties involved, that can take some time. So I suggest that a parent find somebody in the group, the counselor, the administrator, somebody that they feel that they can trust to stay in touch with throughout the process, and we can be we can keep you up to date as to what's going on, but it may not result in a resolution immediately, but we're more than willing to communicate where we are in the process.
So we're winding down on our question list. So I want to pose a question that I want to discuss with you, and kind of give you a second to think about it. So what I'd like to do is be able to think about additional resources that parents can use at home in working with their kids and making sure they're being proactive and understand. So I want to kind of come up with a list of 3 different resources that we're going to share. Before we talk about that, I'm just going to tell everybody that Rock Talk is our new program. It's all being displayed on the Round Rock ISD video YouTube channel and on roundrockisd.org. We encourage all parents or any viewers who are interested in this topic at hand, have any follow-up questions, to email us or online on Twitter at RISD Rock Talk. We'll be happy to reach out to our experts in counseling across our district and get you the best answers for your questions. And as always, our campuses are amazing. The counselors, principals, assistant principals, associate principals, teachers are great resources. Please use them. Several different ways of communicating with our campuses and getting the help and support that your kids need. So resources, anybody want to throw out the first resource that we haven't mentioned today that parents can use in supporting the needs of their kids?
Well, I laid out some books here that are just some examples. I mean, I probably have a whole shelf full of, or maybe 2 shelves full of books at my campus, just at my campus, on books that I could lend out to parents. These are books that I can use in class-wide guidance. These are books that I can use with small groups of kids to target certain needs for them, or they're books that I might be able to lend to individual students or read with them. Things that might help, like what to do if your child's being teased, what to do if your child's being put down by others, how can you help your child develop those problem-solving strategies, all the way to if dealing with cliques, and if your child is someone who is being aggressive with others, what could you do?
Awesome. We can get a list of some of the books that you recommend. We can put them on our Rock Talk website.
Yeah, and also an important thing to talk about when we think about bullying, a lot of times we leave out the emotional regulation. Being able to manage, the ability to manage one's feelings is a huge skill that's developmentally being developed over the course of the school age, between 5 to 18 years old and beyond. So that is something that we want to help teach students too.
And to be clear, these books they're children's books, they're fictional books, they have storylines with characters, something that a kid would enjoy reading.
Yes, and they can be used for any age. My husband used to teach high school, and he would borrow some of my books sometimes to teach a moral or a lesson.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there another resource that you feel that parents could use?
I really encourage parents to stay plugged into their students' social media and every form that their student uses. We find that a lot of things happen through the use of social media. So if there's any way that parents can get passwords, stay in tune with what their students are tweeting or Snapchatting about, that's very important to have those conversations with your students.
Awesome. One more final thing. Do you have anything to add, Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of good resources on the internet. So if you go to YouTube, if you go to stopbullying.gov, there's videos that parents can look at.
So stopbullying.gov, can you tell us a little bit about that website in particular? And you said there's some videos.
There's lots of them, but they have some videos that I've used before that are fictional characters that showcase different social aggression issues between girl friendships, and then they also showcase different types of aggressive behavior, whether it's relational or physical or emotional.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of our experiment still of sort. This is episode 3 of Rock Talk. We hope that parents find it very useful, and we appreciate your expert knowledge and working with our students.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.